Abigail Hoover, and I am daughter of Pastor Vale and Dennis, the worship leaders. While at Encounter, I felt God tell me to do this, and for some reason, I listened to him. I'm really nervous, and if I throw up in the middle of this, I'm sorry. I'm going to talk to you about two things: how children can be spoken to by God and perfection. First, I'm going to be speaking about how God can speak through children. Psalms 127:3 says, "Children are a gift from God. They are a reward from him. All gifts from God are amazing and helpful." Matthew 19:14 says, "Let the little children come to me. Don't stop them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to those who are like children." Children must be pretty important for God if God tells us he wants us to be like them. I actually have some testimonies that I would like to share. Once, out of the blue, after church one day, Elijah, my brother, wanted to go to Denny's. He doesn't really care for Denny's, but that day he wanted to go there. We did not go, and later our car broke down. We then found out that our grandparents went to Denny's that day, and if we had went, we would have gotten help. God can warn us of things in little ways, so maybe we should pay attention to the little things. Am I saying everything a child wants to do we should do? No. Children can also see things sometimes that others cannot. Once, when me and my brother were riding with my grandma, someone backed into us. They hit the front and the back of where I was sitting, nearly hitting me. Elijah later claimed that he had seen an angel sitting in the middle seat. God allowed Elijah to see the angel that God sent to save my life. Just remember, not everything a child says they see is actually there. Kids have a big imagination. Also, of course God can speak to the younger generation. I mean, why do you think I'm talking to you? Doesn't matter how old you are, God can speak to any of us, big or small. God can use anybody, not because of who the person is. We really are all equal, but because God is really, really awesome. Okay, this one about perfection is called Only Jesus Does That. Let me start by explaining the title. Every night before I go to bed, me and my dad go like this. My dad says, "I love you to the moon and back." I say, "I love you to Pluto and back." And my dad says, "I love you to Andromeda and back." And I say, "I love you to heaven and back." And my dad says, "Only Jesus did that." I can be a perfectionist, so every time I try to be perfect, my dad says, "Only Jesus does that." 2 Corinthians 12:9 says, "My grace is sufficient for you, and for my power is made perfect in weakness." This shows that we have weakness, and God's power is so good and perfect that it covers up our weakness. As I was writing this, I had to remind myself that this message does not have to be perfect because it is only meant to point to the one who is perfect. 2 Corinthians 5:21 says, "For our sake he made him to be sin who knew no sin, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God." This means that since we are not perfect, the only way we are able to be joined with God is through the one who is perfect, who died for us. Jesus lived the perfect life, but died a sinner's death so that we didn't have to. Philippians 1:6 says, "He who began a great work in you is faithful to complete it." We are all works in progress, but that's okay because God uses our faults and turns them into something beautiful. In order to be in a perfect relationship with God, we have to be perfect, but we all fell short. The only one to live up to a perfect standard is God, which is why he had to send himself to die on the cross. Nobody's perfect. I know it's a cliche, but it's true. I hope that my message has been helpful to you. But remember, This that you have heard today, this was not my word. It was God. So don't thank me if it helped you. Thank God. I thank God for giving me these words so that I could help others, and so God could help me as well. Also, I want to thank my parents for helping me do this. I love you both so much. I also want to thank Caroline for helping me with all my problems with like anxiety and stuff. That just about wraps it up. Thank you. Have a nice day. May God bless your week.